much. All right, in the meantime, this whole Mueller probe is the backdrop for pretty much everything here. The more likely it looks that it's wrapped up soon, the better it looks for the president. That's the old saw here. But is it panning out? To New York City Councilman Minority Whip Joe Borelli, National Review contributing editor Deroy Murdock, and last but not least, Deirdre Bolton. Deirdre, this could be wrapping up soon, but is the president complicating it?
I think so. And there's tons of good news. And we talk about this even in the markets fundamentals. I was even looking through state budgets that are they have surpluses, even in the Midwest, Minnesota, Utah, Connecticut, of all places. And I think all of these good things.
And they're crediting that, or at least the administration has been to all the revenue from these tax cuts.
There's more people working. There's more people earning higher wages. That's actually helping out state budgets. And when was the last time we heard anything really positive about state budgets? So there are so many other things that I feel like could be the talking points of this administration right now. And to your point, I mean, that is the administration's biggest accomplishment, at least as far as the markets and the economy goes. So in my mind, that's what you would want people talking about, especially going.
But they're right. The president is violating that by talking about these. I'm not going to understand. He's frustrated with this. He says it's a witch hunt, et cetera, et cetera. But is it your sense that it is coming, this frenetic activity, whatever you want to make of it, is that it is coming to some sort of a closure?
I'd like to think so, but I tend to doubt it. I think the ability to distract Donald Trump and all of us from his agenda is not a bug of the Mueller probe. I think it's a feature. I think that's the whole idea. You've got a lot of people who are pro-Democrat, pro-Hillary, some people who maxed out to Hillary Clinton. A brand new addition to the team just last week. Turns out he's another Hillary donor. Used to work for John Kerry, worked for Jesse Jackson Jr. This is not a fair and balanced probe. This is a very anti-Trump probe.
So whatever comes of it is not going to be friendly to him.
I think the whole idea here is to keep it going as long as possible and keep us talking about this rather than 3.9% unemployment, economic growth, the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, keep Trump distracted, keep us all off balance, and hope that assist the Democrats in getting back in November. I think that's the exact purpose of this probe.
Well, if he's right, then they're playing him like a fiddle, right?
Well, I think he's right to some extent. I mean, the focus is definitely on keeping this witch hunt going. But as more people are starting to pick up on the fact that Trump is saying, Giuliani's been out there saying that this is a witch hunt, this has spun off the rails, that's why you're seeing Trump getting his highest poll numbers year to date. People just aren't paying attention. Every time you peel back the onion of this Mueller probe, like you pointed out, it just seems like there's more bias, more anti-Trump agenda, and less about Russia. I mean, you had Michael Caputo on just earlier. I mean, how much more clear can anyone be that he was not questioned and investigated on Russian collusion?
Yeah, he said that came up again and again, things having nothing to do with collusion or anyone named Trump, which was kind of interesting. But having said that, I mean, just taking the big aerial view of the markets here, I would assume they'd rather have this behind them because the uncertainty of it, is a nightmare. Would that still stick if whatever happens with this doesn't involve Donald Trump to prove that he was a target, but that there's a lot of malfeasance or whatever else lower in his administration?
I'm with you. The quicker that this can all become just done and dusted and put aside, the better for investors. I mean, we have so much to brag about, right? 9-year run of bull markets. We have a global economy that's growing, that's helping us out. To your point, we have that 3.9%. You haven't seen it that low since the year 2000. I mean, there's so many things that are working.
You weren't even born.
So, yes, I think for every single investor, this just would take one X factor off the table and allow people to focus on fundamentals. We also had an amazing earnings season.
No, you're right. Deroy, do you think under the surface, though, that is the case? That I talk to a lot of people who say, boy, I do see the tax cut, or I see things that, and they're not, I don't know if they're answering these pollsters, but that underneath there might be more to that than we let on. Maybe a reason why a lot of Republican, pollsters and a lot of the president's team say pound the tax cuts, pound the tax cuts. Why Mitch McConnell is saying pound the tax cuts. Are they missing something? Are they on something?
What? No, they are onto something. I think the Republicans need to do an even better job of selling this tax cut and its benefits. The fact that something like 80–90% of households are going to see some
or these
benefit
states
from this.
that are enjoying revenues.
The states that are seeing black ink rather than red ink. These amazing bonuses from 500+ companies are providing better benefits, bonuses, and so on. And yet we keep coming back to this nonsense. I mean, in the same time that Mueller has found zero about Russian collusion, the equivalent time period over the Watergate scandal, you had all the burglars, E. Howard Hunt, G. Gordon Liddy, John Dean, all these other folks convicted. Those guys found something because there was a scandal there. Mueller's found nothing because there's no scandal here.
All right, Joe, does it worry you to that point, these investigations go wildly off course? So I'm not smart enough to know how this ultimately ends, but to your point and what you picked up on from Caputo, it's not on collusion. So it's veered into other areas. What's the fallout?
Right. I mean, if this ends up with nothing more than a non-disclosure agreement and Michael Cohen's, fantasy taxi medallion scandal or whatever the case may be, there will not only be not just this going away, I think there will be a pendulum swinging back the other way.
But you know New York
on
politics very well.
Yeah.
You know New York politics very well, and we were talking a little bit about the challenge, the party challenge that Governor Cuomo faces here. That's surprisingly strong, is that it's left versus extreme left, and I'm wondering if that's playing out nationally.
Is it playing out nationally? Yeah, I mean, I suppose it is, because you look at the PA race with Conor Lamb. I mean,
right.
You have this candidate who is everything that the National Democratic Party does not want in a candidate for public office, and yet he's the one that won. So I think you do have that playing out nationally to some degree. But just back to the point of Trump. This is something that the American public has finally stopped paying attention to. And if you look at some of the sub-polling, some of the sub-questions on some of these polls, Democrats are saying the tax cuts are working 10% more, 15% more in some of the polls. They're liking Trump on foreign policy. That's what people are actually turning to now.
Could the consensus be wildly wrong here? Everyone's saying this blue wave, right?
Yeah,
what if it's wildly wrong?
I think the potential for the Democrats to take over is really a function of whether the GOP stands up and defends itself and goes on offense, I should say, or whether they continue to think, oh my God, we're going to lose, let's crawl under the tables and under our desks in the fetal position. They have a very positive message to sell, and I see a lot of them saying, well, I guess we're going to lose, so let's start,
But everyone says, the tax cuts thing, the benefit isn't there. Surely we're not going to go out and see Republicans voting. And I don't know. I mean, the vibes don't match some other vibes.
And I think this data coming in from the state's budgets, I mean, to me, that's an objective piece of data, right? That's not really something that is an opinion. I mean, I made notes.
Do voters seize on that, appreciate that, know that?
I don't know, but
educated.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota, 330 million. Connecticut is over $1 billion. Utah is over 500 million. I mean, those are real numbers.
In New York, the governor's trying to hide it. He was originally proposing $1 billion of new revenue-raising, schemes, otherwise known as taxes. But they found, magically, another $750 million in income tax receipts and sales tax receipts. The highest sales tax in 4 years.
Wow.
And suddenly, no need for new taxes.
But, Joe, could I ask you, you're a close friend of the president. He admires you, likes you, and all that stuff. So you're also a friend who could tell him, just be blunt with him. Should he shut up about the Mueller case and just focus on all this?
Look, as much as I appreciate some of his, James Joyce-like stream of conscious tweeting, I think there are times when, the delete button would be better than the send button.
Although I think Rudy Giuliani was supposed to play part of that role, but somehow did a lot of press.
Yeah,
a lot.
Maybe not what was intended. Guys, thank you all very, very much.